What's up, brand builders? Stephen Hurahan here at BrandMasterAcademy.com, and in this video you're going to learn about the psychology of persuasion in branding, so you can understand the science that influences your audience and adjust your communication to persuade them. Now, if you're new to the channel and you want to build brands that go beyond the visuals using strategy, psychology, and creative thinking, then you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. If you want to fast track your results, make sure you grab the Pro Brand Strategy Blueprint. It's a free download and the link is in the description. Now, I absolutely love reading books that will help my work. So typically I tend to lean on more branding and marketing books, but every now and then I'll pick up a non-branding book, such as copywriting or neuroscience or psychology. And some of those books have been the greatest source of learning for me in my work. And Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion by Robert Chialdini is one of those books. And in this video, I want to give you 6 principles that I learned within that book that you can use every day within your brand. Number 1, the Law of Reciprocation. Now, when someone does you a favor, you kind of feel indebted to them, like you need to pay them back. So for example, if someone buys you lunch, you want to buy them back. And that is the law of reciprocation in action. And you'll see this before in the supermarket. You'll go to the supermarket and you'll see a brand having free samples on there. And the idea there is that they'll give you something for free. And the law of reciprocation means that you will buy their product. And the way I like to use this within my branding is not by having free samples or anything like that. It's really about over delivering, giving more value beyond the transaction value that they have provided you with, beyond that monetary value. And if you do that, if you go above and beyond, if you over deliver, you can trigger that law of reciprocation. Principle number 2 is the law of commitment and consistency. Now, as people, we want to feel that we can be counted on because we want to earn the trust of other people. We want other people to feel that they can count on us and that they can trust us, because that's really how we've survived within societies for generations. People who can't be trusted tend to find themselves on the outskirts of society, and that's not where we want to be. So that's where that desire comes from, to follow through and to be consistent. And an example here would be if you decide to run a marathon and then you announce that on social media to all your friends. That's an added incentive to go and do that marathon because you've given your word and you want to stick to your word. Now, this is a big one within branding because across all spectrums of branding, that consistency is the key, and that's where trust comes from. But it's also seen within buyers as well. So buyers continue along the customer journey because they have committed to that first step. They've committed to whatever that initial offer is, and they've told themselves that this is the direction that they're going, and they want to be consistent with their word and they want to follow through on that. So we see it not just within brands, but within buyers as well. So really take the time to map out your own customer journey, identify where your customer first comes into contact with you and what kind of initial offer you have for them. If you make that offer easy enough, then you can trigger that law of commitment and consistency. Principle number 3, the law of social proof. Now, psychologically, we do have a tendency to behave like a herd because there is safety in numbers, and there's this idea that if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me. And you'll see this if you're in a foreign place. You might look to others to understand the etiquette of how things are done because you want to feel like you belong. You don't want to stand out in that situation. You want to look to others to see what the right way is to do things. Now, there was an experiment back in the 60s called the street corner experiment, where they had a handful of people stand on a corner and look up into the sky. Now, there was nothing in the sky, but it was enough to get the masses stopping in their tracks and also looking up at the sky. So that demonstrates that we do have this herd mentality to look at what others are doing and follow suit. Now, within branding, testimonials and case studies are an excellent way to demonstrate social proof, and often enough, this influences other people to follow suit. So if people come to your website and they see that other people have had a positive experience with your brand, they're far more likely to follow suit. Number 4, the law of liking. Now, in short, we prefer to say yes to people who we know and who we like. Now, there are 3 core defining factors to this. The first is physical attractiveness, then similarity, and then contact. How many times have you seen a good-looking person jump the queue just because they're good-looking? And that tends to happen time and again. And within branding, you can see how these rules apply. Attractiveness is within your brand identity. Do you have an attractive looking brand? Similarity is within your personality attributes. Can your audience see similar attributes within your brand that they have themselves? And then there is contact. How much consistent presence do you have in front of your audience? How many touch points do you have? And how often are you in front of them as well? If your audience can see you consistently, if they feel that familiarity, they're going to be much more open to your messaging. Principle number 5, the law of authority. Now, as people, we tend to follow leaders. That's simply what we do as humans. So those with authority are more likely to be followed. And if they have authority and confidence, it kind of tells us that they have the answers. And if we follow them, then we're going to get the answers too. Within branding, authority is often demonstrated through expertise, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going and telling them the way things are. Often, simply asking questions and controlling that conversation is enough to earn that authority. And principle number 6, the law of scarcity. Now, if we see an opportunity, we place more value on it if there is limited availability. Now, we've learned this through millions of years, and it is basic supply and demand. If there's less supply of something, then it's going to be in higher demand because we all have this fear of missing out. Now, within marketing, we see this all the time. We see these limited sales, specifically Black Friday as an example, but it loses impact if it is fake scarcity. If you say that there is scarcity and there's not, then it kind of loses that impact. So we do get used to it if we see this time and again from brands, and we tend to dismiss it. So if you are going to use scarcity, make sure you put rules in place and stick to those rules so you stay consistent. Now, there are countless factors when it comes to influencing the decisions of your audience. But if you understand the psychology behind influence, you can use it every day consistently within your branding. You can influence how much your audience likes you and ultimately how much they buy from you. Now, if you're interested, like me, in reading books about what you do, then these 18 brand strategy books that influence me will help you out too. Until next time, brand like a master, and I'll see you in the next video.